The NFL regular season is officially over, so what that means is we have the NFL draft order for all the non-playoff teams. So I'm going to be getting into my first mock draft of the NFL season, so let's get right into it. Let's go ahead and get into this mock draft. The Tennessee Titans have the first overall pick, and I thought about this pick for a little bit before I hit record. Because we have the conversation between Travis Hunter, Cam Ward, and Shedeur Sanders. And thinking about the past drafts, specifically 2022, and thinking about my rankings, I'm probably going to have Travis Hunter as the number one player in this draft. He is a very dominant cornerback, can also play receiver, of course. I think he will stick mainly at cornerback in the NFL because I think having a true number one cornerback is definitely a little bit, at times, more valuable than having a true number one receiver. Especially if you have a lockdown cornerback, which I think Travis Hunter can be, but the fact that he's also can come in on special packages to play receiver and just be an offensive weapon definitely helps a lot. Now, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I have Cam Ward as a late first round grade and then Shedeur Sanders a first to second round grade. These guys realistically shouldn't be going top 5, but they will because it's a valuable quarterback position. And then when we look back at 2022, even though this draft class, at least quarterback-wise, is a lot better than 2022, there were still people that thought maybe top 10, early 10s, we would see a quarterback like Malik Willis, maybe Kenny Pickett would go, but we didn't see one go till 22, which ended up being Kenny Pickett to the Steelers. So I'm thinking a similar effect happens here with how good Travis Hunter is. The Titans technically still have Will Levis. Maybe they look for a veteran quarterback. Maybe they try to get Jalen Milroe later and they get a veteran quarterback in free agency. I don't know. But I think Travis Hunter right now is too good for them and too good for me to dip your toes into this quarterback class when there is a talent like Travis Hunter available. And that's why I have the Titans getting Travis Hunter. And I think these next two picks are pretty easily going to be quarterback. For me, Cam Ward is my quarterback one, so I'm going to have the Browns take him. Maybe you let Cam Ward sit, you let Deshaun Watson try it one more time, out of pure football perspective. But again, obviously, Deshaun Watson, not a great human, as we all know. But again, Cam Ward can come in, start right away, win the starting job, or even just have him sit, which I think having any of these quarterbacks sit is beneficial, even though at times I am a guy that's like, okay, if this guy is that good, you play him right away. But we're not going to get into that conversation. The Giants, they don't get to choose a quarterback, and I think they are one of two teams. I think if they got the first overall pick, they would go quarterback, and they wouldn't take Travis Hunter. Or no, I don't know if I think the Giants might be the only team that I think would go quarterback because they desperately need one. The Raiders, I was thinking because they're so caught on Shedeur Sanders, but with Travis Hunter available as well, there's a chance I think they could have also took Travis Hunter, so they were kind of out of that. But Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants. Now, the reason why I like Cam Ward a little bit over Shedeur Sanders is because it is almost a 1A, 1B, but it is the fact that Cam Ward does have the ability with his legs to be a game changer at times. But again, I go into full depth in the last video if you want to watch that, ranking the top 9 quarterbacks in this draft class. The Patriots, I'm going to have them go Ted McMillan. I think just trying to get that X factor receiver for your quarterback is going to be huge. I think they could definitely look at that offensive line as well. I don't know if I would take an offensive lineman in this draft above Ted as of now, and I think you could definitely look in maybe the second round for the Patriots. And again, try to address that in free agency. The Jaguars could definitely go a few places here. I'm going to have the Jaguars go Will Johnson. I think they have some help. They need some help there at the cornerback position. And Will Johnson, probably the best cornerback in college this past year, I think I would say. But again, Travis Hunter was, of course, really here. But Travis Hunter, the playing both sides, of course, pushes him up a lot too. But Will Johnson is also a very good cornerback, and I think the Jaguars getting him would help a lot. The Raiders, I'm going to have the Raiders go Malachi Stark. They could go Abdul Carter, right? They could go Mason Graham, but Tyree Wilson, you're still trying to see what you can get from him. You have Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, of course, so I'm going to have them go and address the secondary, and I'm going to have them go Malachi Starks. The Jets, I think they definitely could just help that defense in the whole, and I think getting Mason Graham, putting him next to Quinton Williams would be amazing for that front 4, front 7. That would be a great defensive line. And I think we're just going to keep going with the top talents defensively. The Panthers, they could use an edge rusher, help out that defensive spot. I'm gonna have them going Abdul Carter. The Saints. One thing is I haven't fully gotten into the tackles or the offensive linemen as much, but I do know Will Campbell and Kelvin Banks are good, but I definitely do know that they could be possibly playing guard at the next level, and I've heard a lot of good things about Kelvin Banks, and he might be the best chance at playing tackle, even though I don't need a tackle. They have Talise Fuanga, and then they have Ryan Ramchuk on the right side, but of course is getting older in injury history, so they could always move him to the right side if they wanted to. I'm going to have them going Kelvin Banks with the thought of them moving inside. And I think that's what we're going to do the same thing here with Will Campbell for the Bears. Tackle that they could place at tackle, but also could move inside if they needed to. And now I'm thinking here with the 49ers, I think a cornerback is in play with like Benjamin Morrison. I think they could also get defensive line, but I think we're going to keep the run on tackles and offensive linemen going Josh Simmons to the 49ers. Because they definitely could use some help there. In the Cowboys, this is definitely a polarizing pick because Ashton Jeanty is still on the board. And as of now, I just don't know if the Cowboys are going to pass on Ashton Jeanty. I think Jerry Jones might be a little trigger happy, so I'm going to have them going Ashton Jeanty. I get it. Ashton Jeanty's really good, and I think a 12th pick is fair. I think there's a chance he definitely goes farther, but I don't know at that position who the Cowboys might take. Maybe Luther Burden, because I think they do need some help on that just production size in terms of just offense. But Ashton Jeanty also does help, so I think they go somewhere on the offensive side of the ball, personally, and we're going to have them go Ashton Jeanty. The Dolphins, I think we're going to go back to that offensive line. Well, I do like Wyatt Milam. I definitely saw a little bit of him this past year. So, again, somebody who's probably going to stick at, they could go tackle, could go guard. I mean, you could move almost any tackle at guard, really. But, again, they definitely need offensive line help. They need the help to protect Tua, and Wyatt Milam's there. And so, I think the Colts are definitely an interesting spot. I'm going to have them going Tyler Ward. I think he's the best tight end in this draft. Colston Loveland is definitely good as well, and I could see him going later in this first round. But getting them a tight end for Anthony Richardson, some help on the offensive side, I think could make a lot of sense because Tyler Warren has had a heck of a season in that game. That catch versus who they played in the second round, SMU, was it first round? Was it first round catch versus SMU, I believe. So, was it SMU? I think it was SMU, or was it somebody else? Am I tripping? But that one, yeah, we know which play we're talking about. Tyler Warren, definitely really good tight end. The Falcons could go a few spots. I'm gonna have them go edge rusher here, and James Pierce, I know, hasn't been as great as the early predictions may have put him. I do think still he's a really good pass rusher. I think that's what they could use, so I think I'm going to go James Pierce here for the Falcons. The Cardinals, they could go a few places. Getting a linebacker would help, so Jalen Walker makes a ton of sense. They could go edge rusher. I also think that, work and help that defensive line. I think the edge rusher class is definitely deep to where you could go edge rusher later, so I'm going to have them go Jalen Walker, address that linebacker spot. The Bengals, I think they could go a lot of spaces. I think, interior defensive line, receiver with T. Higgins most likely not going to be there next year. The secondary I still think could use some addressing because you just got to go defense. You don't have to because, Luther Burden. That run defense scares me. I'm going to go Kenneth Grant for the Bengals to address that defensive line. Seattle Seahawks, they could go a few places here. The offensive line definitely could use some help. And I think we're going to keep that going, the offensive line. I don't know how many players are actually going to go, at least the offensive linemen. I know it's a solid draft class, right? Like, Tyler Booker could go. I'm going to have them go Ursery. And then I think I'm going to have the Texans go Booker. I think that is a good little back-to-back offensive lineman picks there. The Broncos could definitely go a few spaces here. They could receiver because they have Cortland Sutton, they have Marvin Mims. Yeah, I like Luther Burden to the Broncos. I really do. The Buccaneers need help on that secondary spot. One guy kept forgetting about because he's not super high on this board, at least for now. It might change. But Jahdae Barron, I'm going to still have Benjamin Morrison go here to the Buccaneers, but Jahdae Barron I could see going very soon. And now I want to talk about Jalen Milroe just a tad bit. I don't think I'm going to have them draft I don't think they're going to have them draft Jalen Milroe here, but I think the Steelers and the Rams, if anybody's going to take Jalen Milroe in the first round without any trades, really thinking about it, would be one of these two teams. You can have him sit a year. I think more realistically that would help and kind of work with the Rams because they have Matthew Stafford, and I think he's going to be there for at least 1 or 2 more years. And then you have Jalen Milroe hopefully be able to find his role. But I think if Jalen Milroe is going to go into the first round, I think a team's going to trade up for him. I think. Because I think there is a chance he goes in the first round. There's a chance that he just stays with Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders, which is very likely as well. But I wanted to talk about Jalen Milroe and kind of my thought process there if one of these teams could possibly draft him. But I think the Steelers definitely could use some help offensively with their receivers. So I'm going to have them go Mika Kabuga. So that's where I have them going here. The Rams, I think they could definitely work on the secondary. I do like Jahdae Barron make a ton of sense. Their defensive line is doing completely fine. Tight ends, they could go tight ends. If we look at the needs, tackle, linebacker, I think a cornerback makes a ton of sense. I really don't know how people feel about how NFL teams feel about Shavon Revel because of the injury. I don't know if he's still going to go in the first rounds. I don't know if I would draft him personally. I think I would have my reservations because of that. Colston Loveland definitely intrigues me. You just get another weapon for that offense with Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, right? That would be a really interesting thought. I think we're going to tackle. We're going to give him Cameron Williams. The Packers, they could definitely go a few spots. I think maybe like a Tyleik Williams could definitely make a ton of sense. Next to Kenny Clark, the future of Kenny Clark, right? They could go edge rusher. Nick Scarleton's kind of falling a lot farther than I thought I would have him. Because there's a bunch of edge rushers. There really is. They don't go tight end. They don't go Colston because they do have they have 2 solid tight ends there. Cornerback is in play. They do have Xavier. They don't really need safeties. They have Xavier McKinney who's playing well. Let's have him go Tyleik Williams. Pair up next to Kenny Clark and then probably replace Kenny Clark in the future. Now this is definitely an interesting spot for the Chargers because Colston Loveland, Michigan, right? So you have that. You look at the trends, most drafted by the Chargers. It makes sense, and I think you continue to do it. Now the Commanders is a really interesting spot. Edge rusher. I think getting a cornerback would be great, and I think inherently that's what there's some good edge rushers on the board. There really is. But Jahdae Barron, I really love Jahdae Barron. I think they might value kind of completing that secondary just a tad bit more than edge rushers right now. So I'm gonna have them go Jahdae Barron. The Ravens, I'm gonna have them go edge rusher. Gonna give them Nick Scarleton. The Vikings could go a few places here. I think getting cornerback, I'm gonna have them go Trey Amos. The Bills, I think, could look at edge rusher. They obviously have some solid guys with Greg Rousseau. So they have him. I still think defensive line is definitely. I'm gonna have them go edge rusher. I think this is I think there's some really good edge rushers still available. So Michael Williams to the Bills. And I think we're gonna kind of continue to see the run here of edge rushers. Shamar Stewart, Nick Scarleton. So you have these top talented edge rushers kind of falling. I think if any place for the Chiefs, Shavon Revel would go here. They could use some help in that secondary. Yeah, that's where I'm feeling there. Not TJ Sanders. Not TJ. I meant Siobhan Revel. Not. I didn't mean to press TJ, but Siobhan Revel. And then the Lions could go a lot of places. I think if Siobhan Revel is still available, possibly. Interior defensive line, edge rusher, right? I think both makes a ton of sense. I think I'm gonna have them go. I'm gonna have them go Walter Nolan, especially with the injuries they had there at defensive line. So that's where we're gonna go with the Lions. I don't know how good. I mean, you can rip me in the comments if you think this is a terrible draft, but this is where I'm kind of feeling with my first one. Gonna read it off to you. Titans, they get Travis Hunter. Browns get Cam Ward. Jadir Sanders goes to the Giants. Tedero McMillan to the Patriots. Will Johnson to the Jaguars. Malachi Starks to the Raiders. Jets get Mason Graham. Panthers get Abdul Carter. Calvin Banks to the Saints. Will Campbell to the Bears. Josh Simmons to the 49ers. Ashton Jeanty to the Cowboys. Wyatt Milam to the Dolphins. Tyler Warden to the Colts. James Pierce Jr. to the Falcons. Jalen Walker to the Cardinals. Bengals get Kenneth Grant. Seahawks get Ariante Ursary. Tyler Booker to the Texans. Luther Burden to the Broncos. Benjamin Morrison to the Buccaneers. Amika Ekbuga to the Steelers. Cameron Williams to the Rams. Tyleek Williams to the Packers. Colston Loveland to the Chargers. Jahdae Barron to the Commanders. Ravens get Nick Scourton. Vikings get Trey Amos. Bills get Michael Williams. Eagles get Jamar Stewart. We're going to have the Chiefs get Siobhan Revel, and then Walter Nolan to the Lions. And that's the mock draft. I don't know how good it is. I don't know it's bad. Again, we're still 4 months away from the draft. So what are you guys' thoughts on it? You can rip me in the comments. You can like what I did. If you really liked it, maybe some other guys that probably shouldn't have gone in the first round. Maybe I got some of the rankings in terms of edge, positioned with these edge rushers, because there's definitely a ton of good edge rushers. I can't wait to get into them and watch them. But those are my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.